Hey friends, Los Angeles-based multimedia artist David Miller. It is the morning of Thursday, January 9th. We're in our second or third day of major fire, multiple major fires hitting the northern section of Los Angeles. I happen to live in San Pedro. It's 30 miles to the south, and there's still like ash in the air. You still can smell smoke. And a lot of the people I know through the art scene and social media and people who know people are experiencing homelessness right now. They didn't expect to lose pretty much everything in their lives in a matter of a day, but it happened, and I felt like it was important to make a video about, I guess, Los Angeles at large and sort of, I don't engage in a lot of online debates about anything because I think it's kind of a waste of energy and time, but I know there's a lot of people finger pointing and some people who are not necessarily in Los Angeles, but people, outside of it who are like borderline gleeful that, those liberals in California, especially because it's perceived to be in like wealthy areas, they're getting what they deserve and so on and so forth. I don't believe that at all. Putting it out there. I'm just saying this chatter is in the air. And for what it's worth, I wanted to make a video kind of describing what Los Angeles is, misconceptions about those particular areas. And I guess I'll start off with the idea that the fires are contained to these presumably very wealthy areas, Pacific Palisades, Malibu, so forth, that are adjacent to, beautiful mountain scenery and forests. All sorts of people live in those areas. It's not just mansions by producers and so forth. One of the interesting things about Los Angeles is that the rich and the poor, it's just like across the street from each other. And maybe elevation makes a little bit of a difference. There's a lot of times I've gone to people's homes in areas that before I lived here that I thought were like the wealthy zones, and it turns out it was like 10 people crammed into an apartment because they're all sort of college age. And I think at any level of the economic strata, Los Angeles is very scrappy, and it is very hard to survive here. It is incredibly hard. It is incredibly hard to become successful. Everybody comes and thinks, well, I've got this talent. I've outgrown, I came from Omaha originally and then Phoenix, Arizona. I've outgrown those places. I'm going to plant my flag in LA, and I'm going to be so unique and everything that I'm going to get, I'm going to succeed instantly. I'm old enough to know that's a fantasy, but there's a lot of people who maybe think or feel that way. But the things you have to do, if you are on that sort of trajectory where you want to be here, go to college, get a successful career, you have to basically have roommates. You have to take any job that comes your way just to pay a bill. You have to like build all these weird side hustles, and it goes on and on. I didn't want to get too deep into that. The point was that the fire does not discriminate. It is not just hitting people who maybe have the means to rebuild. It's hitting everybody, and everybody at all economic stratas live in those areas. Also, because we're involving high winds, that's what's carrying the fire. Maybe it starts in a forested area. Maybe it starts in a mountainous area. That blows from palm tree to palm tree to palm tree. So even though I'm 30 miles away, if this stuff was out of control, there's not even forests around me. I live on the coastline where it's rocks and ocean. It's conceivable that super strong winds just blow the fire straight south, and all of a sudden you have the unthinkable San Pedro and Long Beach in flames. It's just like a weird twist of fate. And thankfully, it's the kind of disaster that loss of life is kind of kept to a minimum versus something like 9/11, where you have occupied structures that are basically instantly vaporized. Not instantly, but, then they have all the rescue workers trying to save who they can, perishing when the buildings crumble. With this, you see it coming, and so the loss of life is minimal, but the property destruction, I am sure when all is said and done, it's going to be the equivalent of a 9/11 style thing. I'm not traveling up north. I'm not going to be a looky-loo. I'm not going to film footage. I'm not going to try and do a shoot. I would never do that. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect everybody in the region. I actually work in a elementary school in San Pedro, and we're canceled for today, and we're canceled tomorrow because of what's going on way far north. The long-lasting effects, besides property destruction and thousands of people out of homes and jobs and schools and all the other important functions of society. There's poison in the air, and the water is poisoned now, and it's the drinking water of millions of people. It's the air that millions of people are inhaling. Fires are pretty close to cultural institutions like the Getty, which houses thousands of years of unreplaceable artworks. And I just finished the autobiography of Werner Herzog, and he talked about the Library of Alexandria, which I'm not clear on the circumstances of why that burned, but it was basically the accumulation of human knowledge and history up to that point in Alexandria, Egypt, and I believe it was deliberately burned down, and all of that lost, everything that was showcasing who humanity had been up to that point and what we'd learned just wiped out. And that sort of thing can happen here. It's a very tough city. I haven't lived here too long. I've lived here 2.5 years, and I've been coming since 1997 as a visitor. People here are a lot tougher than I think the perception might be. Certainly where I was growing up in the Midwest, I think people either perceived LA to be violent, straight out of Compton kind of stuff, or Party City and everybody's doing coke and everybody's a successful actress. The reality is that for all its sunshine, it's people that are very similar to people everywhere else. They follow sports teams. They chilling and going out to restaurants. There's a lot of driven people here, people who have a dream, and as a mecca of arts and culture, I think it's unrivaled in the United States. Werner Herzog, who I have a lot of respect for, said, the arts and moved from the mid-20th century from New York to Los Angeles. And I think that's true. Certainly the fact that the movie industry and the television industry is based out of here means that a lot of what we have as our larger American culture is generated here. And even if it's something like Breaking Bad, which is filmed in New Mexico, the Vince Gilligans of the world cut their teeth here. And the actors, everybody I know that's an actor and a comedian and a musician and a visual artist and a photographer is really going full force to survive. I myself am borderline homeless on a weekly basis, and yet I'm still here because these are the kind of people who also don't give up. And the people I know that aren't in the creative industry, the ones who are teachers and work in fitness industry and coffee shops and all your blue collar jobs. I mean, they're doing their best too. I don't see anybody partying, slacking, being violent, robbing, certainly not anybody that I've ever associated with personally. And the times that I have met people that are kind of like that, maybe my old model partner dabbled with it. Like, they wake up pretty fast at how fleeting and disposable that sort of like going out and clubbing and all those things that you might glamorize when you're young, how imaginary that life is. And I think people who are involved in that imaginary lifestyle, unless they have some sort of like magic safety net, they check themselves out really quick. Everybody that's here in the long haul is a survivor and a fighter and a struggler. So whether or not you came to this video and you had a different opinion about Los Angeles, I don't know if I've made a difference, but I just felt like elaborating a little bit about the kind of people that are here, what's happening with the fire. And we'll see, at the end of the day, how much of a disaster it is. One of the unfortunate things, though, I mean, I hate this about our culture right now, is that because we like associate location and political alignment, there's people, I actually will tell a story real quick. My daughter, when she was maybe like 15 or something, there was a natural disaster in Texas. I don't remember what it was, hurricane or something like that. And it was I think it was a blizzard and a massive power outage. So unusual for Texas, but it's a result of global warming. Anyways, the thing my daughter said was she was happy that it was hitting people in Texas because they were a red state. And I was like, you cannot think that way about people. Whoever runs a state or however it's governed does not really have a lot to do with like the human value of the people living there. Much like, let's say, I don't know, Saddam Hussein ran Iraq for however many years he did. Iraqi people are not Saddam Hussein. So, and more to the point, just like evaluating the value of somebody, whether they're liberal or conservative, or they're Christian or they're Muslim, or they're, whether or not they align to your personal lifestyle. For me, it's like vegetarians and non-meat and meat eaters, that'd be ridiculous. You gotta have empathy for all human life, because it's wrong to keep like a scorecard or a check sheet of, well, is this person valuable to me or not? Or do I like them enough? Or did they make a choice that I don't like? You can't do that. You just can't. We're not God. And I think even God is forgiving of those things. He's forgiving of everything. But long story short, everybody says or does something that another person disagrees with. And, God help you if you were in a burning building or you were stuck in a blizzard with no heat and power, and the person that could help you wanted to look up your political affiliation, or whether or not you ate meat or not, or your music taste, or any sort of metric that we might evaluate other people on. Best of luck in your own creative endeavors. Talk to you next time.